Come to order. Sergeant at Arms, please secure the doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, this morning we are pleased to be joined by the Reverend Dr. Gerald Folsom of Hemingway Memorial AME Church, District Heights, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the 25th District. Please rise for the invocation.
Let us pray. We are humbled and blessed to come before you, O God, thanking you first for grace and mercy. God, as we've moved through COVID-19 and all of life's challenges this year, we recognize and give thanks that it was you who kept us safe through life's storms. We recognize and give thanks that it was you who watched over us when trouble was lurking around the corner. We recognize and give thanks that it is you who continues to be our guide. God bless our leadership at all levels of government in this great state of Maryland. God bless our governor and his administration. In this great state of Maryland, God bless the most esteemed legislative body, our Maryland State Senate. All across our state, bless our citizens, from the youngest to the most seasoned citizens. Provide the resources and the wisdom for our state to improve our education system, to include righteous and just funding for Maryland's historically Black colleges and universities. Oh God, provide us the resources and wisdom to ensure the necessary protections and the amounts of vaccines in this health crisis and pandemic. Oh God, provide us the resources and wisdom in the bond bill, in the economic stimulus, in keeping a clean environment. Oh God, may you keep all of our citizens safe and promote more public and private partnerships. Let us always care, oh God, for the least, for the locked out and the left out in our communities. God, we thank you and allow us to collectively continue to chart our course together. And God, let us find common ground on a pathway to greatness. You have been good to our state. Now guide this great state of Maryland, oh God, to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with you, oh Lord. Amen.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 25th District.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I guess you all heard the very up-to-date and well-knowledgeable Pastor Folsom. I'll share with you, when I first moved to Maryland from Montana, Hemingway Memorial AME Church was the first church that I fellowshipped with. And Pastor Folsom and the Hemingway family continue to be some of the most generous, giving, thoughtful, kind people. And now, after hearing Pastor Folsom's prayer, I know he's also staying up to date on the news. So with that, Mr. President, I ask that the prayer be journalized.
Without objection, we will most certainly journalize the pastor's remarks this morning. Thank you very much, Senator. All right. Has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? Senator from Prince George's? Excellent. All right, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. All right, announcements today. Any announcements, introductions, comments on the weather? All right, now everybody's ready to get to work today. Oh, that's Chair recognizes the senator from District 8.
Yes, thank you. This is just a point of personal privilege, and I think we can all enjoy this. I just can't believe no one has mentioned this before, but I am so delighted, and I'm sure everyone in this chamber is too, to walk through Lawyers Mall. It's finished. Yay. and to walk down Bladen Street and hear the person that you're talking to next to you and how nice it looks. So I thank all the construction workers and everyone who had something to do with it. It's all beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Agreed. It really does look beautiful. Those wider walkways, it's great. It's great. Chair recognizes the Senator from Prince George's.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder that bond initiatives are due on Monday, and I think that is the first prayer I've ever heard that prayed for bond bills. Wanted to note that.
Well said. Well said. They are blessed this year. All right. Let's see. All right. Any other announcements before we get going? If not, so we consider the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We've got some new bills. We're getting there. Remember, the deadline is Monday at 5 o'clock. Our Secretary of the Senate will be there guarding the front door at 5 p.m. So please make sure that you are on time, 5 p.m., to drop off bills to make sure they make it before having to go to rules. Let's go ahead and do these bill introductions. This is calendar number 20, and let's see what number we're up to. We're up to 787. So we're getting there. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 721, Senator Hester, Procurement, Small Business Reserve Program, Administration and Application, EHE.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. Next order of business is the introduction of Senate bond initiatives. This is calendar number 6. Clerk will read the bills, the bond initiatives.
Senator Ferguson, Baltimore Museum of Industry, B&T. Senator Ferguson, Clinton Street Community Center, B&T.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. Those are extra blessed legislative bond initiatives. All right. Next, we have a couple of reassignments here, just a few. We got 3 letters, so we'll take them one by one. The clerk will read the first announcement.
In accordance with Rule 33D, the following legislation has been reassigned as indicated below. Senate Bill 720, Senator Zucker, Education, Maryland School for the Blind, Pay Plan, reassigned to Budget and Taxation.
All right. We got another one. Message is read and journalized. The clerk will read the next message.
In accordance with Rule 33D, the following legislation has been reassigned as indicated below. Senate Bill 753, Senator Hayes, Department of Commerce, COVID-19, Business Relief Distribution Reporting, reassigned to Finance.
The message will be read and adopted. Clerk will read the last announcement.
In accordance with Rule 33D, the following legislation has been reassigned as indicated below. Senate Bill 757, Senator Carter, State Personnel Management System, Office of the Public Defender Placement, reassigned to Finance.
All right, message is read and adopted. All right, if there's no objection, Senators, we've got everybody here, so we have some third readers to do first, so let's get those out of the way. Let's take a quorum call before third reading calendar.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. All right, we're going to start with third reading calendar number 5. Third reading calendar number 5. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 1, Senator Signor, Historically Black Colleges and Universities Funding. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 1 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. Off we go. Unanimous. With Senate Bill 1 having received a constitutional and unanimous affirmative vote, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 12, Senator Heddleman, Maryland Office of the Inspector General for Health.
Senate Bill 12 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 12, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 111, Senator Kramer, Healthcare Facilities, Dialysis Treatment Services Training, David Selby, Dialysis Parity Act.
Senate Bill 111 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 111, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 120, Chair Finance Committee, Insurance Credit for Reinsurance Model Law Revisions.
Senate Bill 120 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 120, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 164, Senator Simonera, Veterans, Behavioral Health Services, Mental Health, First Aid.
Senate Bill 164 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 164, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 219, Sheriff Finance Committee, Financial Institutions, Commissioner of Financial Regulation, Money Transmissions.
Senate Bill 219 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 219, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 256, Chair Finance Committee, Arts and Entertainment Districts, Artistic Work in Arts, and Entertainment Enterprise Definitions.
Senate Bill 256 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 256, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 282, Senator Lamb, Public Health Prohibition on Testing Cosmetics on Animals.
Senate Bill 282 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 282, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 496, the President, Recovery for the Economy, Livelihoods, Industries, Entrepreneurs, and Families Relief Act. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 496 is an emergency bill and is on up for final passage. Any discussion, senators? This is the relief bill. Chair recognizes the senator from the Upper Shore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I just have a quick question for the floor leader, please?
Will the floor leader yield to a question?
Of course.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you very much. As we discussed, I have received a number of phone calls and emails from seniors within my district that are basically saying that this relief package does not go far enough in addressing some of the concerns and issues that they have gone through on the pandemic. Can you just quickly describe what specifically in this bill will help seniors, and maybe if there isn't enough, are there other things that we are looking at as a body that might be able to address some of their concerns that they're discussing with us?
Sure. Let me begin by reminding the body that this is really about the next 4 months, and this is immediate relief that is directed towards individuals who have, in particular, suffered the most because of COVID, as it relates to both individuals and businesses. And I guess what I would say is there are a number of provisions in here that if you fall in one of those areas over the next 4 months, you may receive some relief, particularly if you're lower income. But at the end of the day, what I think what your constituents are probably more interested in and are thinking about is other legislation that has been proposed by the governor as it relates to retiree tax credits. I think obviously we're going to be taking that up. We'll be looking at it and giving it careful consideration, but that's really not the subject of this legislation. This is really immediate relief.
All right, thank you. I would just add that obviously this is an extremely expensive bill, $1.5 billion. I understand from those experts in the Budget and Tax Committee that we have the capability of paying for everything that's in here. Again, I would just ask as we go through the session that if we're spending this type of money, can we look towards some ideas that will benefit and help our seniors as they've struggled through this just as much as many other people. And I think it's important to address those issues as well. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senate Bill 496 remains on third reader. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's. Has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just want to say that I'm glad to see the governor and the Senate come together around this emergency package. People are in desperate shape. Small businesses are, working people are, seniors are. And between the governor's proposal and our proposals, we have a very good package here that's going to help people immediately. And so I certainly hope our colleagues across the hall, when they take this up, will look at it quickly, move it quickly, because people are waiting. It's a very important bill for people in Maryland. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Do any further? Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You know, it's interesting. I think the last time that I spoke on the Senate floor, we had to adjourn early, the first time since the Civil War. And when we came back into the General Assembly this session, we had one mission, and that was to provide economic recovery for those folks that are hurting the most. And this legislation, as amended by the state Senate, doesn't provide, we're thinking about funding in the next year or the next month. This is about providing recovery funding now. This is probably one of the most significant pieces of legislation that we've passed based on the Senate action. This is a clear sign to Marylanders that help and recovery is on its way. This is what people expect us to do. This is not politics. This is about public service. And I couldn't be prouder. And I'm sure I'm not just speaking about myself or explaining my vote, but our vote in terms of this is us having Marylanders' backs, those that are small business owners, those that are seniors, those that are child care facilities, those that are restaurants just trying to hold on. This is an action for now, so tomorrow could be better for everybody. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yes, thank you. And I wanted to thank the governor for his leadership on this, but not only that, I wanted to thank the Democrat Party for working in a bipartisan manner. This is the way government should work, and I congratulate you.
Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, Chair, in explaining his vote, just wants to thank the work of every member. This is the product that the Senate put together is the months that offices have been listening to constituents and the pain that they have been experiencing on an everyday basis. This pandemic has been so difficult for everyone, and the combination of what the Senate was able to add to the governor's package was really targeted at this diverse impact of this once-in-a-100-year experience. I am very proud of being a member of this body and this chamber. Look forward to the House taking this up quickly so that we can get help to Marylanders as soon as possible, help them to survive this crisis so that 2021 becomes truly the year of relief and recovery and rebuilding. With that, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 496 is unanimously passed and is declared passed. All right, on to the next. We have a re-referral. Let's go to the Finance Committee. This is report number 3. Report number 3, the clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 280, Senator Feldman, Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, Metro Transit Police, Quotas and Police Complaints Board, refer to judicial proceedings.
The committee has moved to re-refer the bill to judicial proceedings. Are there any objections to the re-referral? Seeing no objections, without objection, so ordered. The bill will be re-referred to the Judicial Proceedings Committee. All right, let's take up some of our substantive second readers here. We've got Finance Committee Report number 4. Number 4, the clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 54, Chair Finance Committee, Local Government Clean Energy Loan Programs, Grid Resilience Projects, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you. Senate Bill 54, a departmental bill, expands the types of projects that may be financed under a clean energy loan program enacted by a county or municipality by adding grid resilience projects when such projects are installed with energy efficiency projects or renewable energy projects. The bill requires eligibility requirements for grid resilience measures to be established by the local ordinance or resolution and establishes the Clean Energy Loan Program. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 adds a definition of grid resilience project. There's no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. It came to our attention that there are 2 similar overlapping bills in 2 different committees. There's one on that we just heard, Senate Bill 54, and there's another one coming up on our report, 319. So I would move in the spirit of comedy, I think with the T and not a D, but I'm not sure, that we special order Senate Bill 54 till Wednesday of next week, and I will welcome or actually make the motion to do the same with the EHE bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the catching that. If there are no objections, the Chairman's moved to special order the bill to the appropriate time on Wednesday. Without objection, so ordered, and we will do the same when we get to the next one on the EHE calendar. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 56, Senator Eckhart, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Psychiatrist and Psychiatric Nurse Practitioner, Telemedicine Reimbursement, Sunset Termination, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Prince George 47th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 56 makes permanent provisions of law that require the Maryland Department of Health to provide reimbursement under the Medicaid program for telemedicine services provided by psychiatrists and psychiatric nurse practitioners providing assertive community treatment or mobile treatment services. There are no amendments. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
The floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Questions on the report? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 56 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 96, Senator McCray, Public Health, Behavioral Health Programs and Health Care Facilities, Safety and Community Relations Plans, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 40th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 96 specifies that Behavioral Health Administration must require a behavioral health program to establish and implement a safety plan as a requirement for licensure. If a program is required to adopt a community relations plan as part of its accreditation, the program must submit the plan to BHA, the Department of Health, before approving the operation or licensure of a facility. Must require a facility to implement a safety plan, and if required by the facility's accreditation organization to implement a community relation plan, BHA and MDH may authorize a program or facility to satisfy the bill's requirement by implementing a safety plan established for another purpose. Amendment number 1 simply authorizes a provider to also use an existing emergency plan to satisfy the bill's requirement. There is no fiscal impact. I move the amendment and the adoption of a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Question first is on the amendment. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 96 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 103, Senator Kramer, Business Regulation, Retail Pet Stores, Modifications, No More Puppy and Kitten Mills Act of 2021, favorable.
Chair recognizes Senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill represents another major step forward in the great work that this legislature has done to stop the flow of the product of the puppy and kitten mills coming into Maryland. It adds brokers to the definition of retail pet stores, creates other certain definitions. There are no amendments. The bill, this exact same bill, passed unanimously off this floor last year and ran out of time on the House. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. The question is on the report. Chair recognizes the minority whip. What purpose does Senator Rise?
I have questions on the bill.
Question on the report. Will the floor leader yield for a question?
Absolutely.
Senator may proceed.
I'm just trying to better understand this. And when we did the original puppy mill bill, I was actually in the picture with you. We have a nice picture with the with the senator from Montgomery County when we were at the bill signing with all the dogs and the governor. But I'm trying to understand this one because this is basically, it looks like there's a third-party people that can act as the go-between between you, the breeders, where they actually have the dogs and the dogs are, say, produced, and where you would buy them. So you're saying that's a problem. You don't want to have that even?
Yeah, what the bill will do is prohibit the sale of dogs and cats through what are referred to as brokers. These are mega entities licensed by the USDA, very often put up websites giving the impression that the consumer is buying a puppy or a kitten directly from them, when in fact they are putting up pictures that allegedly represent the puppies and kittens at the puppy mills. So they are licensed brokers. They just act as the in-between and the price markup on the sale of puppy mill puppies.
Okay, but so the breeders are still the same as they've ever been. This bill doesn't touch the breeders. This is only somebody that acts as a third party, correct?
Correct. Local kennels, out-of-state kennels are not affected by this bill. If you're looking for a golden retriever and you want to go to Carroll County Golden Retriever Kennel there, you can go by there. This does deal just simply with the brokers.
All right. If I could, maybe I'll share with you my question or concern maybe, and you can answer it. I appreciate it. Would be sort of a long example, but a personal example is that. Sorry, I'll pull this up closer. A example being that about 2 years ago, my wife went out to the grocery store, and on the way there, she sees a little Dalmatian puppy. The guy's holding him. She goes up, "Can I pet him?" He says, "Pet him, you can have him. I'm trying to give him away." So my wife, being big-hearted, adopts this little Dalmatian puppy, brings him home, and it turns out we got a lot of breeders in Frederick County. We get a lot from Pennsylvania, too, a lot of breeders up in Pennsylvania. And so this case, the Dalmatian, like a lot of these Dalmatians, was deaf. We only find out after we get him. So, and the breeder was actually found out, we go to the vet's like, a lot of these breeders are terrible. They know these dogs, they're inbreeding them, they have problems, and so the breeders are the actual problem. So I guess my concern is, and I understand you don't want to go back to a big old pet store and all that, but if I'm looking for a Dalmatian in the future, if I don't want to drive to the farm, or I don't want to know who's the good guys or the bad guys, if I want to go to somebody who's just a one-person broker or whatever, and they just help set me up with the right dog, it sounds like I can't do that now if we pass this.
And that's exactly what this bill is about, to protect consumers in Maryland from getting those overbred Dalmatians that do have a tendency in their lineage because of certain things that do with their color, etc., that they're deaf. And the puppy mills are the source that creates the problem, in that they constantly are breeding these same dogs over and over and over again. There's considerable inbreeding in the puppy mills as opposed to the kennels. So, and by the way, you're talking about Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of the worst states in the nation for its puppy mills. They have horrendous puppy mills in Pennsylvania. But the point of the bill is, instead of letting the puppy mills market and sell into Maryland, you'll be directed to responsible breeders now who look for these characteristics. They know how to properly breed dogs, and they care, and they have caution, because their reputations are on the line. If you're buying from Puppy Spot, one of the largest brokers in the nation, dealing in thousands of dogs every year coming direct from the puppy mills, there's a much better chance you're going to get a puppy that has problems, health, demeanor, just it's a world of difference. That's exactly what this bill is doing, is protecting Maryland consumers.
Okay, and I understand. I guess my last point on it is, yes, but this doesn't affect the quote unquote the bad breeders are out there. Whether we pass this or not, the bad breeders are out there. And I see what you're saying, you're worrying about the puppy mills, but I guess I'm just trying to think of, in my own situation, if there was somebody there as an act as a third party that says this breeder's good, this breeder's bad, and if I go to get another Dalmatian, that I can go to somebody that could act as a third party to help me adopt out a dog and says, don't go to that breeder, they're bad, go to this breeder. It could help weed it out and be a third party, and I'm a little concerned that this would prevent that.
Well, don't be concerned. In a perfect world, that would be wonderful. In the real world, these brokers are doing exactly what concerns you. You click on an internet button, you see a pretty puppy, and they, take your credit card. You've now paid probably 6 times what you should have for the puppy, and you're going to get wherever that puppy comes from in a puppy mill anywhere across the country. And that's what we are preventing with this legislation. We are protecting Maryland consumers from that problem. So I appreciate your concern, and this is the bill that addresses it. And in fact, I'll point out, not one single either non-affiliated puppy mill entity came in to oppose this bill, or anyone from the public who had a concern with it, or any of the myriad of kennels that are here in Maryland. Not one of them came in opposition. Only the big broker industry.
All right, questions on the favorable committee report?
I think there's always a question. I would thank you for your response. I agree. But in a perfect world, the Huffs would stop picking up dogs from grocery stores. But we're big-hearted, so we've got a lot of different dogs at our house.
Fair enough. Don't tell the Ferguson household. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. And
on the report, does the floor leader have a question?
Yes.
Will the floor leader yield for a question?
Certainly.
Senator, just a reminder to everyone in the body, remember, the work product on the floor is a product of the committee. It is not a particular individual senator's product. It is a product of the committee, and we should refer to each other as to the districts, not you, I, me, we. This is the beauty of the Senate of Maryland. Minority Leader may proceed.
Thank you. I'm assuming there was testimony for this bill? Yes. Okay. So, Mr. President, this just goes to the protocols during a pandemic. I have no access to the committee testimony because I wanted to look and read it. There is no access on the computers right now for that. So I don't know if it's just this bill or it's a problem with other bills. I verified with a couple other senators, they don't have access to it. So I would like to special order this until Tuesday next week so we can at least review the committee testimony.
So, Senator, I don't think there's going to be an objection on the special order. I do want to make sure that we're going to look into that because that's a global issue that
Exactly.
it should be available. We do not want to rush if there is not. So we're double checking right now. We'll get back. I'll give you the chair will give an update in just a moment. If there's any discussion before we special order, but we do want to make sure this technological issue is clear. Any further discussion? The minority leaders move to special order the bill. If they're without objection, so ordered, we'll take up the bill at the appropriate time on Tuesday, and we will make sure to figure out, and can we check to see if it's other bills as they come up on the second reader calendar as well. All right, clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 170, Chair Finance Committee, Transportation-Related Property and Copper or Aluminum Items, Duties, Prohibited Acts, and Enforcement, favorable with 2 amendments.
All right,
Thank you,
chair
Mr.
recognizes the
Thank
chair
you.
of the committee as the floor leader.
Senate Bill 170, a departmental bill, expressly prohibits a person from willfully altering, disconnecting, tampering with, removing, otherwise interfering with a transportation-related component for electrical current transmission and storage or an intelligent transportation system if the component or system has been placed by the authority of a public body or official. Theft of copper wires from Maryland Department of Transportation, MDOT, lighting facilities and transportation systems has been a problem, and the bill includes penalties to aid in enforcement of deterrence of tampering and theft of materials at MDOT properties and facilities. Amendment 1 makes changes to the purpose paragraph. Amendment 2 strikes from the bill provisions that would have established a 30-day hold period for certain copper or aluminum items acquired by a junk dealer or scrap metal processor. There is no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question is on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 170 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. All right, next up we have Finance Committee Report number 5. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 215, Senator Kelly, Maryland Department of Health, Birth Registration, Gestational Carriers, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 215 codifies existing health department practices by standardizing protocols for preparation of birth certificates for children born of gestational carriers to whom the children are unrelated. When the intended parents submit information specified in the bill required by vital records for preparing birth certificates, the intended parents should include a copy of the court order establishing parentage. Once the information is recorded by vital records, the information will be sealed by vital records. There are no amendments, no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes questions on the report. Chair recognizes the senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you very much. A clarifying question, if I may.
Will the floor leader yield?
Thank you, Senator.
Senator may proceed.
You talk about the non-related gestation carrier. So this woman who's carried the child for 9 months, they didn't use her egg or her egg.
That is what this bill is dealing with.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any further discussion on the report? Questions on the favorable report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 215 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 226, Chair Finance Committee, Maryland Insurance Administration, delivery of notices and other communications by electronic means, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you. Senate Bill 226, a departmental bill, authorizes the Maryland Insurance Administration, the MIA, to send notices or other communications using electronic means if the recipient has provided an email address to receive notices and communications and other requirements are met. In addition, the bill authorizes a person to send a required notice or communication to the MIA by an electronic means approved by the MIA. Amendment 1 makes changes to the purpose paragraph. Amendment 2 provides that the MIA can require a person who is licensed, certified, or otherwise regulated by the MIA to send a notice or other communication by electronic means, but it cannot require a person who is not regulated by the MIA, such as a consumer, to send notice or other communication by electronic means. There is no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Questions on the 2 amendments? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendments say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is on the adoption of the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments, further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 226 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 235, Chair Finance Committee, Major Information Technology Development Project Fund, use of funds, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 235, a departmental bill, expands the purpose of the Major Information Technology Development Project Fund to require funding of the statewide public safety interoperability radio system. The bill also requires, instead of authorizes, the fund to be used to support the state telecommunication and computer network. The Secretary of Information Technology may allocate funds between the 2 programs. There are no amendments, no fiscal impact, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 235 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 316, Senator Klossmeyer, Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard, Hydroelectric Power, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 316 indefinitely extends Tier 2 of the state's renewable energy portfolio standard beyond its current expiration at the end of 2020. The bill applies to all compliance years begin on or after January 1st, 2021. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 decreases the minimum percentage of energy that must be derived from Tier 1 resources, as well as the minimum percentage that must be derived from solar energy. The amendment also increases the compliance fee that certain electricity suppliers must pay for failure to meet the minimum required percentage of Tier 1 renewable energy that must be derived from solar energy. There is no fiscal impact. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question first is on the amendments. Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Yeah, I would just ask that the bill and amendments lie over under the rule.
The senator has moved to lay the bill over under the rule. This is a non-debatable motion, so ordered. The bill will lie over until the appropriate time on Tuesday. All right. Tuesday, yes. All right. Next up, we have the Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee report number 4. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 13, Senator Eckhart, Certified Nursing Assistant Certificate Renewal Training Program Requirements, favorable.
Chair recognizes Senator from Baltimore and Howard counties as a floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 13 authorizes a certified nursing assistant to renew a certificate by providing satisfactory evidence of completion of an approved nursing assistant refresher training program if the certificate holder did not complete 16 hours of required active practice within a 2-year preceding renewal period. The State Board of Nursing must adapt regulations to specify, number 1, the circumstances in which a nursing assistant is required to complete an approved nursing training program or a refresher program, or number 2, the number of didactic instruction hours and clinical training hours the nursing assistant training program or refresher program must have been approved. Regulations must be consistent with federal law. There are no committee amendments. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 13 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 167, Senator West, State Board of Social Work Examiners, temporary license to practice social work, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 167 provides a way for us to provide temporary license for practical social workers. There are three committee amendments. The first amendment is technical. The second amendment alters the definition of temporary license to include only 2 categories of practice: temporary license to practice from a Bachelor of Social Work and temporary license to practice Master of Social Work. This is important because these are 2 categories that require supervision. And it permits the board to issue temporary licenses only to those 2 categories. Amendment number 3 changes the expiration date of the temporary license to one of the following: either when the licensee receives permanent licensure, or 2, 1 year after the issuance of the temporary license, whichever is earlier. It was voted on unanimously by the committee, and we ask for a favorable adoption of the committee amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of 3 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. Question first is on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 167 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 180, Senator Simonera, Funeral Establishments and Crematories, Unclaimed Remains of Veterans, Notification, Disposition, and Reporting, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill requires a licensed funeral establishment or crematory in possession of the unclaimed remains of a veteran or eligible dependent for which a veteran service organization has not taken possession, to 1, notify the Department of Veterans Affairs of the status of the cremains, and 2, transfer the cremains to the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs for appropriate disposition. There were no amendments, no opposition. I move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County. What purpose does Senator Rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm looking online, and I can't find any committee testimony on the bill.
All right, Senator.
Would the floor leader please indicate if there was testimony?
While we are here,
you bring up a very valid point, and I share your concern. There was a lot of testimony.
Wow. Then, Mr. President, I would ask that we lay over the bill to have an opportunity to review
Senator,
that.
okay.
I think
All
you'll
right,
have
all
to
right,
testimony. Thank you very much.
Okay, look, we'll special order the bill into the appropriate time on Tuesday, assuming there are no objections. No objections, the bill is special ordered. Let's quickly just take a quick pause and talk about this issue with committee testimony. We've gotten a bit of an update. So as it was planned, and if senators think back to how the session worked when we didn't have electronic testimony, the way that it was programmed in is that it opens up from the committee to the broader world after it is adopted on second reader, so as it goes into third reader. It will take some programming to change that, but that has been the status all along. So when we had the prior bill, the issue is that it is programmed to unrelease after it moves and is adopted on second reader. So that is the point at which the technology triggers the open. And thinking back to the world pre-pandemic, the committee file was in the possession of the committee until the Senate received possession of all of the materials. So we're looking to see what it would take. The staff for my office, staff for the minority office, both have access to all and can access on behalf of senators to print off as PDFs the committee file. This is obviously a very staff-intense request, and so ideally would be used in a limited way. We're investigating what it would look like to release it the moment that the committee votes to send it back to the full body, but that's something that's going to take programming, so it's going to be investigated over this weekend. But just want to clarify that it wasn't something that was broken, that was how it had been programmed, and that is the status. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Mr. President, and I thank you for that. I know you've been working very hard with us on that issue on the body. And just to tell you, I mean, it's tough to communicate down here. I was putting notes up on the window so the senator from District 1 could see what I was saying. And it's just a different environment we're working in. And if we have a bill up there, we don't want to wait till it passed a second and then we can't put an amendment on it. So we really need that, and at least have the discretion to special order something if
Agreed. And in this case, certainly, I mean, that was sort of the default, is we do not want to mess up. We don't want to overlook something. It's important that we get these things right. And so it certainly makes sense. And we'll investigate some other options over the weekend and take up both of these bills next Tuesday. All right. I think we still have another bill on the calendar. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 298, Senator Riley, State Board of Pharmacy closure notice to customers. The Dennis Robin Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. It came to the committee's attention that when a local pharmacy closes, there are currently 9 provisions of regulations guiding the pharmacy in how to handle opioids, how to handle inspections by the state, and that type of thing, but there was no consumer protection so that people would go to their local pharmacy and it would be shuttered. This bill is designed to provide advance notice. It requires the owner of the pharmacy must provide, prior to closing a pharmacy for more than 7 consecutive days, the pharmacy must post a specified notice in the pharmacy and on the pharmacy's website at least 30 days in advance, or at least 14 days before the anticipated closing, mail a notice to each customer that has a current or authorized refill of a prescription on file. This is again a consumer protection to provide people advance notice. There was 2 amendments. One was technical. The second requires a pharmacist to provide written and verbal notice to customers who pick up prescription refills during that 30 days prior to closing. We recommend the adoption of the favorable committee report with amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question now is on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 298 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 313, Senator Washington, Maryland Department of Health, Public Health Outreach Programs, Cognitive Impairment, Alzheimer's Disease, and other types of dementia, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd District as the floor leader.
Thank you, President. This is Senate Bill 313. Colleagues, this is very important, particularly in light of COVID and many concerns that our long-term care facilities, our seniors, that we're making sure that we're addressing this issue of dementia, not just Alzheimer's, but all types of dementia. This bill is requiring the Department of Health to work together with agencies across the state to really develop information regarding cognitive impairment to help families and communities to focus on Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. We want to increase our public understanding and opportunities for people to get the support that they need. There are no committee amendments. There was no opposition. This bill passed the committee unanimously. I ask for your adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 313 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, we've got another floor calendar from the Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee. This is report number 5. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 40, Senator Peters, Higher Education, Richard W. Collins III, Leadership with Honor Scholarship, Bowie State, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Charles County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 40, which is the Richard W. Collins III Leadership with Honor Scholarship for Bowie State, alters the current scholarship program. It calls for over 25% of the annual grant money for the Richard W. Collins Leadership with Honor Scholarship program be removed to make for more than 25% of the grant money to go to students at Bowie State. Currently, it's limited to 25%. Any remaining grant money, rather than the current 75%, must be awarded to current students at other historically black colleges and universities. There are no committee amendments. There are no fiscal impacts, and I move for the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Questions on the report? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 40 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 104, Senator Bailey, Public and Non-Public Schools, Electric Retractable Room Partitions, Operation Requirements, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the Lower Eastern Shore as the floor leader.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and colleagues. This student safety bill prohibits an employee of a public or non-public school from operating an electric retractable room partition under certain circumstances. Annual safety reviews, evaluations, or exercises must include information and demonstrations regarding the safe operation of an electric retractable room partition. The Maryland State Department of Education must develop and disseminate model safety guidelines to each local school board and non-public school building, including the publishing on the website. There are no committee amendments. There's no fiscal impact. The bill was passed unanimously by the committee and passed last year by the Senate unanimously. I move for a favorable report.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Senator moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. If we could please make sure it's a little bit loud in the chamber. If we could please just make sure we give senators their due regard when they are leading the floor here. Floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 104 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 155, Senator Washington, Higher Education, Tuition Exemption for Foster Care Recipients and Homeless Youth, Alterations and Reports, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 155 expands the definition of students who are able to receive the tuition exemption under the legislation that we passed in 2014, where we were one of the first states to extend tuition benefits to unaccompanied homeless youth. So over that time, other states have done it, and it turns out our definition of homeless youth has become out of date and very restrictive, so that the number of students that can benefit from it is not what we would hope for. So this legislation expands this definition of homeless youth. There are 2 committee amendments. We've worked closely with MHEC as well as local institutions. The First Amendment adds sponsors. The Second Amendment does a number of things. 1, it establishes a list of entities that can verify an individual as homeless youth within the 24-month period prior to enrollment or while enrolled in a public institution of higher education. 2, it requires a public IEH, Institution of Higher Education, on the request of the student to notify another institution in which the student plans to enroll of the student's designation as a homeless youth. It requires a new public institution of higher education to also designate the student as a homeless youth on receipt of this notification. This has been a barrier going back. Our homeless youth, they do move around a lot, or if they move from a community college to a 4-year institution, this has been a barrier. 3, requires a public institution of higher education to establish a homeless and foster youth liaison in an appropriate office, which many of them already are doing. And 4, requires a specific report of each public institution of higher education to report the information to MHEC. Again, we want to know how we're doing on this. I ask for the adoption of the committee amendments and the committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question first is on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 155 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 319, Senator Hester, Clean Energy Loan Program, Remediation and Resiliency, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the second of the 2 bills I referred to earlier, and while I appreciate you saying I caught it, it was actually the committee counsel of the Finance Committee who caught this, so we thank that person greatly. Mr. President, I would move that this be special ordered until Wednesday so we can work out the 2 bills and bring them back to the floor.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you to committee counsel. The senators move to special order the bill to the appropriate time on Wednesday. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the bill shall be ordered special ordered. All right. Next, we have a report from the Committee on Rules. This is report number 1.
Senate Bill 657, the President's Small Claims Examination in Aid of Enforcement, Prohibition on Arrest or Incarceration for Failure to Appear, re-referred to judicial proceedings.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Rules Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this bill was referred to the Rules Committee this morning, and we voted favorably to refer it.
Thank you, Senator. Senator moves to refer the bill to the appropriate standing committee without objection. So ordered. All right, we have just a little bit left here. We got special order calendar. This is the special order calendar number 5. This will be our executive nominations report. The clerk will read the report.
Executive nominations report number 1. The question is, will the Senate advise and consent to the nominations of the executive?
Chair recognizes the chair of the Executive Nominations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move favorable on the gubernatorial appointments in report number 1 of the Senate Executive Nominations Committee.
Chair has moved for adoption of the report in the favorable for the Senate to advise and consent these nominations. Any discussion? Any separations? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone should change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, the Senate does advise, and consent to the nominations of the Chief Executive on Report Number 1. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 200, Senator Young, Natural Resources, Organized Killing Contest Restrictions. Bill is on third reader for final passage.
All right, Senator, Senate Bill 200 is on third reader for final passage. Is there any discussion? Appears we worked everything out. Clerk. Oh, Chair recognizes Senator from the 29th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill, and I'm glad I took the time to look at it, this bill deals with organized killing contest. And on the face, that clearly is something we should not allow. And when we talk about this, it deals with raccoons and it deals with foxes. But it also deals with coyotes. And wanted to just take a minute to talk to you just about what is occurring in Maryland when it comes to coyotes. And this is not Wile E. the coyote that we dealt with years ago on TV. The situation is that over time, the hybrids that have come here, Maryland is one of the last 2 states in the contiguous states to get coyotes. They are a hybrid. They are a hybrid of dogs, interbreeding, and they are also a hybrid of wolves. And so the coyotes that we have in Maryland are much larger than what they are around the country. And the fact is that our male coyotes are between 60 and 70 pounds. If you go west of the Mississippi, they weigh 25 to 30 pounds. The thing is, what this bill says is they can't use anything to, in any contest, any monetary value. But the thing is, what are these coyotes coming here to do? What is their number one food item? Their number one food item that they're working on right now is pets, right? And that is what they are attacking in our neighborhoods. There were multiple people this year in Maryland that were bitten by coyotes while they were walking their dogs or they were walking their cats. That is a significant issue. Everybody thinks, wow, coyotes are great to have. And I just challenge the number of you that have actually seen a coyote here. They are a nocturnal animal. When we say it's easy to hunt them, quite frankly, I have hunted them. They are not easy. They are completely nocturnal. And when you hunt them, you need very expensive equipment. The scope to go on a rifle to hunt coyote at night is at least $10,000 because you hunt at nighttime. They do significant predation on livestock, especially in the springtime when you have calves, because these are not 25 and 35 pound animals. These are top order predators that are 65 to 75 pounds. They are significant. Everybody wants them until they show up in their neighborhood. So just wanted a little bit of, to give everybody a little bit of education. When we talk about something like this on the idea, absolutely. Organized killing contest, it does not make sense. But when you include coyotes in there, something that is going to affect each and every one of you in your neighborhoods in the future because they just got here to Maryland, just wanted to educate you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Minority Leader.
Floor Leader.
Floor Leader on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to highlight some of the things about the bill. This only pertains to contests where they're using money to do this. What we've seen is that they have these contests where over a 1 or 2 day period they try to kill as many animals as possible, and then in many cases they just pile them up in heaps. We also had no opposition to this bill. In addition, we had hunters come in support of the bill saying this is not what hunters are about. And then lastly, I would say that they still can hunt coyotes, and the DNR still has management tools to do as far as the flock, or not the flock, but the group of them. So I would ask you to vote affirmative on this.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? Other than the fact that being chased by a coyote is probably one of the most terrifying things I can imagine. That said, further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 37 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 200, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we've got one last report here, Senators. We've got layover bill calendar number 2. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 65, Senator Kelly, Electricity Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard, qualifying biomass. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable report.
Our question is on the adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable report. Chair recognizes the senator from Frederick County.
Yes,
Is this on the
thank you.
amendment?
Thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to. I have some questions about the floor leader would rise with the bill.
On the amendment?
Yeah. Just
Will the floor leader yield to a question?
I'll ask any question. Do you have an amendment?
Well, this is the question
we're not on that yet.
bill?
So we're talking
Sure.
about, we're discussing the second reading report here on the amendment.
Absolutely, yes.
Senator may proceed.
So my question, this bill removes black liquor from the renewable portfolio standard, correct?
That is correct. And let me just add that the bill was a little broad, and we ended up amending the bill to really tailor it specifically to black liquor. There's other commercial forestry products that were included in the original bill, but we took into account MEA and DNR, offered some testimony, so we pared it down and targeted specifically to the topic of black liquor, which has been a subject of many years for the environmental community. So this does remove it as a Tier 1 source.
So the environmentalists wanted to remove black liquor from the renewable portfolio standard. Why?
Well, because it produces, this is residue of paper mill factories that is environmentally problematic. Chemical residue that is deemed to be not very good for the environment. And I will say that the reason we haven't done it earlier, in all candor, is we had a paper mill in Western Maryland, Luke Mill, and there were jobs. And I'll just say again that labor was opposed during those years. We had a closure of that single paper mill in 2019, and so there are no longer any jobs impacted as a result. And so this year, unlike any other year previously, labor not only did not oppose the bill, they didn't even submit any testimony in opposition. And so with that all, there's no environmental argument to keep it in there. There's no economic job loss argument. And so the committee did go forward this year and remove that in this piece of legislation from Tier 1 as a Tier 1 source.
So in the way that the renewable portfolio standard is funded is basically through ratepayers on utility bills, and then a portion of that, do I have that correct? A portion of that goes to basically fund renewables? And
Yes, and you know, Senator from the 36th District often talks, including this bill, about potential ratepayer impacts when you remove something from a Tier 1 source. And we had extensive discussion during the committee hearing and during a voting session. And so that's really important when you're talking about complicated energy policy. You don't want to just wing it. You don't want to just take a vote because it feels good, sounds like it's good politically. You want to be deliberative about it. And I was the sponsor of this bill in 2014. It's been that long. And we've been very methodical, deliberate about making periodic adjustments. I was the sponsor of the Clean Energy Jobs Act 2 years ago, very methodical. And so it's important that we have a process where we can put that out, including ratepayer impact. I should just add, since you bring that up, the senator from 36th District made a passionate speech within the committee about potential ratepayer impacts, and we considered that before we voted. It wasn't a unanimous vote.
I understand I saw the vote, there was some divide, but so was the consensus in the committee that RPS credits should not be used for black liquor because it is harmful for the environment? Is that why this bill's on the floor right now?
In conjunction with the fact that there was no economic impact anymore in our state, we took, I think, both things into account.
So then this bill really doesn't do much because no one's using it.
Well, I don't know how you could say that. We're making a policy statement that this is here. It's not doing anything good for the environment, and it's not resulting in any economic losses. So we are taking appropriate action to remove it as a Tier 1 source. I don't know how else to answer it.
I just wanted to make sure we were in simpatico on it. I'll sit down now. I'll have an amendment to offer once we adopt the report that will keep in spirit with the committee about removing dirty products from the RPS standard.
All right, questions on the amendment? On the amendment. Any discussion on the committee amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the adoption of the favorable committee report as amended. Chair recognizes the senator from District 1 on the report, or
is this the right time to offer an amendment?
just in 1/2 second. Questions on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Senator has an amendment. Chair recognizes the senator from District 1. If the senator could read the number of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's 503726. 503726.
5037. We got to get into this new habit. All right. Madam Secretary, do we have that amendment? Do senators have the amendment on their pages? All right. If we don't exist, so the electron pages. Chair recognizes the senator to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. At least we did that part right from our end. I'm going to just briefly say what this does and then elaborate a little bit on it, if that's okay. All this amendment does, and I heard a lot of talk, well, the paper mill's going. It's nice to know that some people don't check into what's really going on in certain parts of the state when you're dealing with these issues.
Mr. President, we're having a hearing problem back here, and I can't get the amendment on my computer.
All right, Senator, thank you. Senator, just give us a moment. The senator from the 30th District want to click the button. It's at the very top stripe, the red stripe. It should show the amendment number and pop up as a PDF. Pandemic growing pains. Give us just 1 second, Senator. We're good? All right, Senator may proceed.
Usually I'm pretty loud, so I'll put it up here where it's close. So if I'm too loud, you can let me know.
That may be a little loud.
Usually I could do this without this microphone. But very simply what this amendment does is says that any black liquor produced in Maryland would stay in Tier 1. Now we all know in 2019 this bill was in and it did not pass because the paper mill was still in existence. Yes, they provided 1,000+ jobs, and when you rotate that 3 times out in the community, that's about 3,000 jobs affected by the closing of the mill. But at this point, we have 2 companies looking at the mill. Now, the likelihood of them, they're not going to produce paper. I've talked to both of them, but they are going to use wood to make certain products, one being pellets, and I'm not sure what a couple of the other ones are because they didn't over elaborate, and I don't know if whatever they might produce would produce black liquor, but the paper machines are gone. They took them out and they shipped them to Turkey. But the infrastructure's there. There's someone in this group who's going to try to attract several businesses into this facility, would produce something that might produce black liquor. They can use it to produce energy on that complex. And if you haven't been there, it's a pretty big complex. Now, I'm not an expert in RACs or RECs, however you say it, but it's a renewable portfolio standard, and we did this and we got in an argument, what's renewable? Well, black liquor is renewable. Along with a lot of other things, it is renewable. And according to some information I have here, we talk about wind. Only 1.2% of the wind is produced in Maryland. And guess where that's produced? In Garrett County is the only county that I'm aware of in this state that has wind farms. So we're doing our best to provide juice to the state of Maryland, but the problem is, one of them I was told when they first opened up, and I don't know how this works, Mr. President, but they were shipping their electricity to Florida. They had a contract with Florida Power. Weren't even selling it in the state of Maryland. So if we accept this amendment, which I hope you will do, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe nobody will come, maybe they won't need this, but it's still a little draw to help. In that little minuscule event, since 18% of it comes from out of state, can't hurt the environment, I think, that much, because when you build wind farms, guess what you do? If you build it in the woods, you cut a lot of trees down, which impact the environment. Then they turn around on the other hand and say, you got to replant a bunch of trees. And if you study these issues over time, windmills even pollute. So do solar panels. We're talking a minuscule amount here that maybe, for a part of the state that's been economically bombed, which I won't mention the other things, might be a little bit of hope if those people might want to make a product that produces black liquor, which I would tell you is probably unlikely, but at least it would be there. So if nothing else, let's adopt this amendment, and once that company or companies get in there and produce their products, if they're not going to produce black liquor, then pass this bill. What's the harm? I will say this, it's a good thing we got good neighboring states who still produce electricity a certain way, because we don't produce enough juice in Maryland to provide energy to the citizens of this state. I think this is a fair amendment, and I hope you would put up a green vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader on the amendment.
It's my first experience with the handing under the pod wheel person technical assistance here, but okay, well, here, let me just start with the most basic point here. You know, this issue that some investor may at some future point come in here, that is the reason we didn't pass it a year ago. This mill closed in 2019, and we said, you know, we are hearing about potential investors that may or may not be coming, and we held off. Well, they never came. And as of right now, there is no interest, as best we can tell in the committee, from anybody that it's come to our attention, there's any interest in doing this. I'd also add, if there was any interest, labor would have weighed in, which, as they did in 2020, saying, hold off, there's the possibility of somebody coming in and doing something at this site. This year they didn't do that because there isn't anything. And so, you know, the idea that we would sort of not take this amendment for the possibility of this environmentally problematic residue being produced yet again, and by the way, the economics of this are also dictating. Over the last 4 or 5 years, the market share in this industry is flat, just as is the case with coal and other things. So I think the sponsor of the amendment is correct. The chances of that happening are de minimis, if not zero. The other thing, Council has pointed out, the amendment as drafted is technically problematic. It violates some other provisions of the code, specifically Section A21 of the legislation, and so it's technically problematic. The idea that we would take an amendment with the possibility at some future point, again, apparently there is no such possibility of that existing. I think for those reasons, Mr. President, I would urge the body to resist this amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, so we have a situation where we had a paper mill in Western Maryland, and people from Western Maryland were working there. And it was subject to all the pollution controls of the state of Maryland and the United States of America. Now, as the good senator points out, those machines that were producing paper in Western Maryland are now installed in Turkey, a country which derives virtually 100% of its energy resources from are carbon-based, mostly oil production. So now, instead of producing that paper subject to the environmental constraints that would apply in the United States, the papers and the mills are running according to Turkish standards of the environmental standards. We often talk about global warming. Everything I understand about global warming says 1 bit of warming in Garrett County would be just as damaging as one bit of warming in Ankara. And so we have now moved a whole fleet of machines, along with their jobs, from Garrett County to Turkey, which will run those machines in a probably less efficient and much more and more polluting fashion than we were in Garrett County, with a net negative for purposes of global warming. I support the gentleman's initiative. Thank you.
Questions on the amendment? Questions on the amendment? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the
Mr.
amendment?
President.
The chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you. I rise in support of this amendment. I think it's a reasonable amendment, and it also helps an area that has been struggling recently. We say we're one Maryland. We all represent the whole state. I think we should take that into consideration. I'm pretty decent at math, and I know if we reject this amendment, there is 0% possibility. If we accept it, they do have a possibility of moving forward with this. So I'd say give them a chance, help Western Maryland, and pass this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Question is on the amendment. Further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Chair recognizes the senator from Frederick County. Senator has an amendment?
I do, and I'll be asking for a roll call vote on this amendment. 463925/1.
Just give us one moment, Senator. All right. Do we have it up, Senators? All right. Senator may proceed.
It's a simple amendment. It's an amendment that I've offered year after year after year on the Senate. I brought it into Senate Finance Committee. It's never even gotten a vote in Senate Finance Committee. It has passed this Senate floor at least 2 times in the past, the last time being by a vote of 34-12. And in keeping with the spirit of, if we're going to remove black liquor, I just find it very interesting that we're removing black liquor even though it's not in use now. We're going to go to the environmentalists and say we're great big champions because we've done that. But yet we are leaving in the same code waste to energy trash incineration. So when I had the discussion with the floor leader about the idea behind the bills, the principle of having this bill out, that ratepayers should not be subsidizing things like black liquor, well, we're missing the big one, which is trash incineration. And if I could, I'm going to read here from the Baltimore Sun, which has been writing on this for years and years. Great article from 2017. A trash incinerator in southwest Baltimore is the city's largest single source of air pollution. But a state law has nonetheless allowed it to collect roughly $10 million in subsidies over the last 6 years. So that, of course, because this article was 4 years ago, we're probably now more than $15 million that ratepayers of subsidizing the burning of trash. Few commuters who pass the imposing white smokestack on Interstate 95 have any idea that the plant burns their household waste, that their electric bills help to maintain it, or that it releases thousands of pounds of greenhouse gases, toxic substances, carbon dioxide, hydrochloric acid, formaldehyde, among others, into the air every year. Wheelberator in Baltimore gets the subsidies because lawmakers agreed. And you wonder why, not only is this an environmental issue, you wonder why this is so bad? This is corporate welfare. This is corporate welfare at its worst. Lawmakers agreed in 2011 to classify trash as one of the most environmentally friendly sources of renewable power, on par with wind and solar. The waste energy industry helped write the legislation that awarded it the coveted renewable label that qualifies incinerators for the subsidies. Maryland is one of the few states to award trash burning as it does windmills. It's from an article. There's plenty more. It's actually very good. There's multiple pages. How a trash incinerator, Baltimore's how a trash incinerator, Baltimore's biggest polluter, became, quote, green energy by Scott Dance, 2017, December 15th. So you would say, well, and I know they'll say, well, offer it as a bill. Senator, why don't you offer this bill? I do. Every year I bring it in, and I stop bringing it in because it never even gets a vote in committee. The only people that come in and oppose the bill, Wheelbrader and the companies that get it. The only ones that come in, and I can't even get a vote. So we're going to vote it on the floor, and I'm not giving up on this. I know the headwinds are against me now, but there's going to be a lot of bills up this year, and I'm not giving up on this. It is time that we stop rewarding the burning of trash and taxing ratepayers across the state under the idea that we tell them they're paying for clean energy, and instead they're paying for burning of trash, they're paying for pollution. This is terrible, and I want to go through some of the people that came in and testified in favor of this when I did it as a bill. Montgomery County came in support, removing waste energy and diffuse-derived fuel from the Tier 1 renewable source does not impair any existing obligation or contract. The renewable portfolio standard was set up to encourage the clean development sources of energy like solar and wind. States created renewable standards in order to diversify their energy sources to include cleaner sources, promote domestic energy reduction, and encourage economic development. According to a study by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, roughly half of the growth in U.S. renewable energy since 2000 can be attributed to state renewable energy standards, so on and so forth. So Montgomery County supports this amendment. Let me tell you some of the other groups that support this amendment, because I offered the same thing as a bill in the committee. Chesapeake Climate Change, Sierra Club, Clean Water Action. Actually, both those groups are supporting this exact amendment on the floor right now. Chesapeake Bay Physicians for Social Responsibility, Waterkeepers, Sunrise Movement, Sugar Grove Citizens, on and on. Almost every environmental group in the state is going to be watching this amendment, supports this amendment. This is common sense. If me, as one of the most, I don't exactly have the best rating in the world with Sierra Club. I know that's not a surprise for everybody. If I can support this, this is common sense. We need to stop taxing and charging citizens under the complete ruse that they're paying for renewable energy when they're paying for burning of trash and subsidizing with corporate welfare a big polluter in the city of Baltimore. So I'd move my amendment.
Senator has moved the amendment. Floor leader wish to respond to the amendment or yield to the chair?
Yes, I'd like to respond several points. First of all, the gentleman's referencing support. These were not support documents on this amendment. These were support documents on a standalone bill, I believe, over in the House. And my point here is this. It's easy, and let me just say, I think that this body is the deliberative body. This is the body. There are things that come to the floor. Sometimes we are tempted, and I'm guilty of it myself, to push a green button because it feels good and it sounds good and it may be a good political thing for the very moment. But we've always prided ourselves in this body of being, I said this at the beginning on the other bill, deliberative in that we want to have testimony. We want to have witnesses. We want to be able to look at a fiscal note. Is there a fiscal note for this amendment? Were there no witnesses? We had no hearings. So there was a lot of questions here, and I know that the gentleman who is the sponsor of the amendment wouldn't be able to answer because you need a hearing and you need witnesses to answer. And this came up in the context even of the black liquor bill, and I'll just reel a few of them off. And let me just say, this is particularly true of energy policy. To be clear, when this was offered in prior years, we didn't have a black liquor bill removing from Tier 1 an important part of the RPS. Now, the gentleman's trying to put another major energy policy call into the renewable portfolio standard on top of another one without any bill hearing. And what are the impacts of the two, the interplay? You need a bill hearing. We need bill hearings for this kind of thing. So, for example, when we talk about complicated energy policy, I mentioned earlier the gentleman from the 36th District during the black liquor bill made the point that when you take things out of Tier 1, it increases demand for other parts of the renewable portfolio standard, increases demand, which in turn has potential ratepayer impacts, which all of us should be sensitive to. What are the ratepayer impacts of this amendment? Do we know? No, we don't know because there was no hearing. You can't look at a fiscal note. I have no idea. Here's a question. What kind of trash, where's the trash going to go? Does your county, in the committee, when we had a discussion, Senator from District 8 said right now in Baltimore County, they're having a discussion about waste management and trash. Where will the trash go? Is there a plan? Well, we don't know because we didn't have testimony from Baltimore County, or for that matter, Baltimore City. We've got the senator from the Baltimore City delegation chair in the Finance Committee. He may want to weigh, where's the plan? Where's the trash going to go? Will it then go into landfills and put out methane gas? Can't answer any of that because we didn't have bill hearings. My own county, which you referenced, there's a fiscal impact. 2.7 million, 3 million. I don't really know because I didn't have a bill hearing where I could get Montgomery County folks in to know what the fiscal impact on my own county was, because that's what you have bill hearings for. Job losses. We just had this long discussion about Luke Mill. Are there some jobs at the Wheelabrator plant? Or at Montgomery County in my own Senate district, which is home to one of these facilities? I can't tell you. I don't know. That's why we have bill hearings. That's why we have witnesses. That's why we have fiscal notes. And so the list of questions goes on and on and on and on. And so, I guess I would just say the piece of legislation we put out here on the floor was an outstanding piece of environmental legislation. I think there may come a time when we take this up. My pitch to the body is the feel-good amendment green vote is no substitute for an end around our committee process. Now, if you were paying attention a little earlier, the gentleman who sponsored this amendment laid over another renewable portfolio standard bill dealing with hydropower. I can only assume that he laid it over so that if this somehow fails by a few votes, he's going to offer the same amendment when that bill comes back. He's playing games with our committee process. Why would you bother even putting bills in anymore? I mean, basically, if you think you're going to have a trouble in a committee, you just get your amendment, you look for a vehicle, and you throw amendments on the board without bill hearings, without witnesses, without fiscal notes. That's what's, I think, at stake with this particular amendment. And so, for all those reasons, from a pure process standpoint, Mr. President, I'm going to suggest that the body resists this amendment because it opens up a Pandora's box. We can just stop doing bill hearings. Let's just offer up serious policy calls on complicated energy policy by showing up on the floor and making a feel-good speech and hoping that people just click a button. And I think that he should have put the bill in as a standalone bill, and that's my pitch. Now, I would also, to the extent when we talk about the merits of the bill, I know the gentleman, senator from the 47th District, feels very strongly about the underlying merits, but I'll stop there on the process.
President, with all due respect, he challenged my motivations.
Senator.
He's out of line. He challenged my personal motivations on that bill, and you let it go on.
Take a
Okay,
breath.
that's fair.
Take a breath.
I apologize.
Take a breath. It's all right. It's been a long day. It's a long day. Take a breath. All right. We got a number of senators who wish to speak on the bill. Reminder for all senators, please refer to the chair for your comments. Please refer to the chair for your comments. This is the committee's product. It is not an individual senator's product. This is the Senate of Maryland. We treat each other with collegiality and respect. That's what we do. Does the chair of the committee does the chair wish to yield?
Which are you talking about?
Not the floor. The chair had previously requested to speak, but if not, then we'll go back and forth. We have a number of individuals who wish to speak. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Both gentlemen have raised important points, both for public health and for the disposal of garbage and waste, and both are very important topics to everybody in this body. As it was pointed out by the floor leader, that this issue was not addressed in the committee hearing, but I think it is one that we all do want to check back and make sure that we do vote the right way with our local jurisdictions. Some of us have garbage that goes into this incinerator, and some of us have constituents that breathe the air from the incinerator. I would just ask, and also in light of the hour, that maybe we could special order this to next week so we could bring it back up at that time.
Senator, I think there are a number of individuals who wish to speak. How about we hear from those individuals, and we'll reapproach the motion after individuals have a chance to express their opinion. Chair recognizes the senator from 47th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of this body, I'm going to ask you to resist the amendment and vote red. Now, I could talk extensively about the substance of this amendment, but I'm not, because in my humble opinion, this is not the appropriate venue to do so. I'm instead going to ask you to resist the amendment by talking about the efficacy of our committee process and how it worked on this underlying legislation of removing black liquor from the RPS. Our committee heard legislation to remove black liquor from the RPS during last year's legislative session, deliberated on the merits, and voted for an unfavorable report based on the facts at that time. I voted in majority on that. But here we are today in the 2021 legislative session with a favorable report on removing black liquor from the RPS, and this time, based on our deliberate process of hearings, stakeholder engagement, and assessment of facts as we know them today, I have voted favorably for the essence of the legislation to remove black liquor from the RPS. And colleagues, that is our process. The substance of this amendment has not gone through the same scrutiny of our process in the current legislative session, and it could have. It could have been introduced as a standalone bill within the Finance Committee, or even, for that matter, it could have been introduced as an amendment to the bill within our committee, but it was not. If a member chooses to present such legislation, I assure you that it will be given the fair assessment that it deserves. I would look forward to doing the deep dive assessment, but that is for another day and for our committee to deliberate. So I ask you to resist this amendment because it seeks to unnecessarily circumvent our process and will undermine the passage of the underlying legislation that I support. I'm asking for a no vote to protect the work product of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to say, please don't vote for this amendment. And part of me says that because it's not the right way to go. We didn't have a bill hearing. But I also want to say that all the senators will have the opportunity to weigh in on how we will deal with trash. I don't know about you guys, but I throw 2 big bags away a week, and it goes to the incinerator. But other than that, I don't know where it's going to go. But just this morning, I did present a bill from the Baltimore County delegation, and it requires the Maryland Department of the Environment to study the creation of a new disposal facility, local jurisdictions, and I say that because we don't have anywhere to put our trash. We burn it. Are facing a huge crisis when it comes to the disposal of solid waste. Creating this work group will ensure that local jurisdictions are not left on their own when it comes to figuring out their disposal issues, and may hopefully result in one location that can be used by many, many jurisdictions to get rid of their trash. Now that's what we call a bill hearing. There will be a bill hearing, and then I invite the senator from Frederick to come to that bill hearing and share his views at that time, and anyone else in this Senate chamber. But we need a place to get rid of trash. And if somebody has some ideas, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to vote against the amendment on the process, but I want to speak that there are times we should consider going around the process. We're going to have an argument in Washington on process very shortly about not impeaching someone, and I don't agree with that either. But what I do want to say is the amendment as it is has passed this floor, I believe, twice, overwhelmingly. And it's an issue that needs to be dealt with. I'm going to vote for the bill that's on the floor. It's easy because it doesn't affect anybody. And I know that the incinerators do affect someone, and therefore there are people that are probably against it for that reason. But the point is, it's an encouragement to build incinerators. We had a group wanting to build one in Frederick, which we fought off. But there was an incentive for them to do that by being in Tier 1. I don't believe that incinerators belong in Tier 1. And there are alternatives out there now. As a matter of fact, one of our former senators is working for a company that has digesters that handle trash without pollution. So all we have to do is start looking. And I would hope in some form incinerators do not belong in Tier 1. They're there. The amendment and the bills that have been proposed in the past are not asking to close them. They're just saying take them out of Tier 1. And so I hope we find a way to do that. I will not vote to do it today as part of this bill, but I don't think we should keep kicking the bucket down the road. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. There are alternatives, and we really should be consistent. If we're taking black liquor out, I don't think incinerators belong in Tier 1 either. So I will vote against the amendment today, but I certainly hope that we get this before us with an opportunity. I know it's been the majority opinion of this floor that they don't belong in Tier 1, and that it is passed by 30-some votes each time. So I think legitimately it should go through a committee, have the hearings, but it ought to get back to this floor so that we can vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Have any senators who have not yet spoken wish to speak? If not, the question is on the amendment. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just got up at the beginning of this session and complimented this body how government should work with the Relief Act and how it was a bipartisan way of doing that. I'm not so sure I have the same compliment on this protocol that we're doing here. We heard a bill this year at great testimony about how some businesses wanted to recycle. And they collected all their plastic bags and all that, and then they sent it off, thinking they were really getting into recycling. Little did they know it was going to an incinerator to be burnt. That is not what the public thinks when they say we are recycling items. You already voted for that, and you supported that to change that. And just to get back to the senator from Baltimore County, this does not take away the incinerators, that people can't bring their trash there. It just takes away the credit, the tax credits that they get for doing it as if it were green energy. And Mr. President, I hope we will remain consistent on this new protocol as far as amendments when we have to take it to a committee first to have a hearing before we can offer an amendment on the floor because we're so-called bypassing the committee process. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and we'll hopefully do that throughout the session. So the last couple years, I actually supported this amendment. I thought, this makes sense. Why would we want to give tax credits for burning trash as if it was a green energy? And I think the vote was something like 34-13. And the senator from Frederick County just said, a majority of the members on this floor support it, overwhelmingly. So let's just go through the committee process. We know what's happened. The committee holds the bill despite the overwhelming support of this body, and it never brings it out to a vote. So we have to put amendments on this to get the majority of the Senate to vote on it. If the committee process was working perfectly, because we have such large support for it, it would be out here on the floor. But year after year after year, it gets stuck in committee without a vote. So what has changed? Last year, you supported it wholeheartedly. There were no arguments about committee assignments or committee hearings. You put up a green vote. You said, I stand with this. This is a good idea. We don't want to give tax credits to say this is a green bill, and you passed it. The only thing that's changed, great arguments, but really, I've been down here long enough, I've seen it. Politics has gotten into this bill, not the substance of the subject, but politics. And you've been lobbied. Let's not do it this year. Politics. Politics should not decide good policy. And that's why I support this amendment.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually think that a lot of truth has been spoken on this floor today, but some of it isn't relevant to the decision that we need to make right now. I, for one, am not a fan of Wheelabrator. And when Wheelabrator sent me a $2,000 check, as soon as they heard I was made chair of this committee, it went back to New Hampshire, okay?
Senator,
because I knew
Senator,
that.
Chair is just going to remind to avoid referring to specific companies if possible.
Well, okay. So I don't have a problem with that. My problem now is that I was working on a bill that would have done something about some of this trash burning when I realized that there were 9 counties using the incinerator that you're talking about, Wheelabrator, and that they had just gotten a renewal for a 10-year contract. So I figured it wasn't timely at this point to spend time on that. But in the meanwhile, all of our ratepayers are paying for RECs in 4 other states where there's black liquor, while we got nothing. We don't have jobs anymore from it at Luke Mill, and we don't have any economic development at Luke Mill. So the two things are different.
Senator, if you could just move the microphone.
One does not, at this point in time, really bear on the other. One isn't even possible right now because you got 9 counties depending on something that they just went into a new 10-year contract on. But we do have the opportunity. We all care about the environment. We all care about the climate. And since they aren't Maryland jobs at this point, depending on what happens at Luke Mill, we ought not be keeping that black liquor in Tier 1. And we really are, therefore, since nothing is going on economically there, are paying in 4 other states for their RECs from black liquor. And so I hope that you will consider this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we all can remember at one time that we all took the trash out, but there was no recycle. We just did the trash at one time. And things have changed for the better. Why? Because we realize how important it is to recycle. We realize how important it is that things do change and do change for the better. And I think at time we realize even more we can do better and we can do more. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do here. I believe what the gentleman said, our minority leader, that, you know, we're smart individuals. That's why we're sitting here. And we're working together to do the best for the state of Maryland. And I think we can continue to work together and make a difference and continue to change for the better using all that we can and not make more trash, but make more recycle. We are so divided right now with this bill and this amendment. I believe we are. There's going to be an outcome, and when we leave here, we're still going to be senators. But I think we need to realize that something like this is important. It's important to not just recycle or trash, but the state of Maryland. So that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any further senators who have not yet spoken who wish to speak? Seeing none, Chair recognizes the Senator from Frederick County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do want to correct the record on a couple things that were said. The bill has been introduced to finance twice, in 2019 and in 2020. And what I was reading was not people coming in to testify on a House bill. It was on a Senate Bill 560, which was last year in finance. The testimony I referred to was from Montgomery County, was from last year. And I do have a fiscal note on the bill from last year, Senate Bill 560, which is the same as amendment, and can be handled with existing resources. The effect is minimal. I have it right here, and it's in the bill file for Senate Bill 560. All the testimony of all the groups I listed and everybody, it's in there. Why do I bring it to the floor? And to say, Mr. President, I did stand on the floor, and I was upset because the idea, I didn't appreciate the quote, playing games. I have been playing this game since 2011. I have been fighting this in the House, in the Senate. I've always opposed this, and I'll continue to oppose it. We are the committee of the whole when it comes here. I have tried to take it through committee twice. It gets no votes, no action. Because of that, I brought it back to the floor, and I'll continue to fight for it on the floor because this is the right thing to do. I'm doing this not because it's some political game. I'm doing it because I believe this is the right thing to do for the state of Maryland.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Yeah, just again to correct the record, since we're correcting the record. So when the gentleman refers to existing resources in the fiscal note, that is referring to the Public Service Commission, not Montgomery County or local government. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, questions on the amendment? Questions on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
That's a recorded vote.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me, Senator. All right, the question is on the amendment. A green vote will adopt the amendment. A red vote will reject the amendment. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Chair, in explaining his vote, this is a bill and an issue that certainly has a lot of prior history. Since 2011, as a senator representing the 46th district, where this issue is as acute as any, I have always historically rejected the idea that waste energy should be in the renewable portfolio. I'm voting against this amendment not because of the underlying issue, but because our committee system matters. And these decisions are complex and hard and have very detailed impacts. And so this is not about the substance. I remain in the same place as always, that I don't believe that waste energy belongs in the RECs. That said, our process matters, and we've got to get it right to make sure we have the facts. For that reason, would like to clerk to take the call. With 30 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Chair recognizes the senator from Ocean City.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm here to offer an amendment 573228-1.
573228. Senators, do senators have the amendment? Appears so.
It was provided earlier.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you. And I did give the courtesy of the chair and the vice chair because I believe that this could be offered as a friendly amendment. All it does is extends the start date of the changes to January 1, 2024. So basically, this would allow the RECs to be, the removal of the RECs from the program would begin on January 1, 2024. It's just an extension, that's all this is. The additional time would have 3 benefits. First, companies that may be negotiating agreements for REC sales would not have those negotiations disturbed midstream. We acknowledge that the bill does protect existing contracts, but the provision does not apply to new contracts under negotiation. Number 2, the Maryland legislature has been considering for many years the changes to the RPS, and as you all know from the history we've just gone through, we made a major change increasing the required percentage to 50% in 2019. But we have heard frequently from witnesses that the constant changes to the RPS makes business planning and investment in the state much more challenging. By at least allowing more time before changing the program yet again, we can allow businesses to plan for these changes and minimize the impact. This will also help retain Maryland as an attractive state for new and increased investment, one in which investors can have some certainty about the rules under which they will operate. And those of you who are involved in businesses know that the uncertainty that businesses face is a constant challenge. By allowing more time before changing the eligibility rules, we are providing the market more time to adjust and for other suppliers to come forward and to try and fill the supply gap that the bill is creating. And colleagues, just during COVID-19, when businesses are taking it on the chin, and that we have to be honest that while we are passing this emergency short-term relief, we need to face the facts that this will be a long-term recovery for our businesses. And so it seems to me it would be a reasonable request to just move the start date to January 1, 2024, and I would ask that this be accepted as a friendly amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Yeah, well, just several things. First of all, so in effect what the amendment does is it delays the act for 2 years. And so there's a couple things. Number one, the sponsor of the amendment refers to impacts on existing obligations. So the bill, Madam Sponsor, if you look at page 4, lines 9 and 10 of page 4, it specifically stipulates, and I'll read it, that a presently existing obligation or contract right may not be impaired in any way by this act. So first, I think the problem, at least as you explain the amendment, is partially it's covered by that language. Beyond that, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not certain what businesses we're referring to, because this is impacting Black Liquor, which was produced at Luke Mill, which closed 2 years ago. So it's not entirely clear what businesses we're seeking to protect, because there really was only one and they're no longer in business. And finally, I think it's been mentioned, we've been trying to push this bill out for years, and finally we were able to do it, and I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's good for the environment. Limited or no economic impact is best. We heard at the from testimony, and so the idea of bumping it yet 2 more years, it's not clear what the compelling argument would be. So for all those reasons, Mr. President, I'd urge the body to resist this particular amendment, to push it out yet another 2 years.
All right. Are there any further senators who wish to speak? The question is on that have not yet spoken. If not, Chair recognizes the maker of the amendment.
Thank you. And I just wanted to point out, when you say what's changed is COVID-19 pandemic. So it seems to me a reasonable request to put some type of reasonable extension. So I did want to point that out. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Colleagues, what we are calling an amendment is this note that was handed to me when we got to the floor today. It's nothing that the committee has ever seen before or that we've had a chance to deal with. Okay.
But the senator did attempt to provide the amendment to the committee. Fair enough. All right, questions on the amendment? On the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Opposed, nay. Noes have it. Chair recognizes the senator from Lower Shore.
Ask for a recorded vote.
Senator's requested a recorded vote. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 65 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, senators, the desk is clear. Before we jump into announcements, just a quick reflection, and I was thinking about the remarks from the senator from District 1. And as the senator was speaking, I couldn't help but think of, as it is all personal and all politics are local, I couldn't help but think of the factories in my own district that you drive past that are sitting there shuttered, broken down, nothing happening in the last 30 years. And I say all this because this is the challenge that's ahead of us, right? I mean, when we have the serious, unbelievable climate challenges that we have and the needs around employment and workforce and development, we used to have these factories with good union jobs that you could raise a family. And now, the world has changed. This is the challenge that we all face. This is not going to be easy. This is the complex debate. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. And we all have different ideas about how to get there. And I just want to thank members of this body for your considered and continuous work to work through this. And as the senator for the 46th district, stand with the senator in District 1 that when these new opportunities arise, this body is willing and able to do whatever it can to make sure that that transformation can happen the right way. With that, let's go to committee announcements. Oh.
Yeah, just want to, and just on a personal note, gentleman from Frederick did, indicate. I want to apologize. I did question motivation there, and I do feel badly about that. So, Mr. Sponsor of the amendment, my sincerest apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Chair of the Finance Committee. Committee announcements.
We've had a hard week, Mr. President. I'm going to let them go home. We'll take up on Monday.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, we have a voting session. We'll be meeting in the committee room in a half hour, 2:40, whatever, 3.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes the Chair of Budget and Taxation.
Thank you, Mr. President. So all 3 operating subcommittees actually are in a hearing right now, believe it or not, that started a while ago. As you may know, we are doing those with the House and their subcommittees. So we've got a little complicated situation, but as quickly as you can you head to those committees. Thank you. And we also have them again at 1:30 on Monday, all 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, the Judicial Proceedings Committee, aka the workhorse of the Maryland Senate, will meet at 2:45 for a voting session, and then we will follow that with a work session.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
President.
Working hard. All right. Any further announcements? Chair recognizes the Chair of the Executive Nominations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will be meeting at 5 o'clock. You should have the list in your office by now. We have 6 judges on Monday and a little over 30 people to hear, so it will be a little longer hearing, but we'll try to move through it as quickly as possible. But please be there on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Co-Chair of the Protocol Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday. And we have had 21 pages out there working very diligently this week. And we wanted to recognize them. So bear with me. It's a little bit of a long list, but they have been so engaged in the process, and we're delighted to have their photographs right up there on the board so you can recognize them with me. I'm going to read them all down, and then we'll give them a big round of applause as I complete the list. So first of all, from Haley Bassam from Harford County, District 35B, C. Milton Wright High School. Segev Berner Kaddish, Montgomery County, District 20, Albert Einstein High School. Eric Cropper, Worcester County, 38C, Stephen Decatur High School. Simone Flynn, Anne Arundel County, 33, Anne Arundel High School. Noah Gentry, Harford County, District 7, Edgewood High School. Nina Jackson, Prince George's County, District 26, Oxon Hill High School. Morgan Jones, Charles County, District 28, North Point High School for Science, Technology, and Industry. Our very own Senator from Baltimore City's son, Ezra Kay, District 43 from Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. Eduardo Marin, Howard County, District 13, Oakland Mills High School. Anaya McNair, Baltimore City, District 43, Reginald F. Lewis High School. Isel Nepomuceno, Montgomery County, District 18, Wheaton High School. Chloe Niedeliski, Calvert County, District 27, Huntington High School. Tolulupe Oluyadi, Prince George's County, District 23B, Academy of Health Sciences at Prince George's Community College. Kaylee Perez, Cecil County, District 35B, Perryville High School. Perenna Polpoli, Howard County, District 9A, Marriott's Ridge High School. Ariel Smith, Baltimore County, District 8, Eastern Technical High School. Florence Tian, Anne Arundel High School. District 33, Broadneck High School, Anne Arundel County. Hannah Ullman, Frederick County, District 3A, Frederick High School. Matilda Vereen, Anne Arundel County, District 33, Severna Park High School. Christina Walker, Charles County, District 28, Henry E. Lackey High School. And Angela Yu, Montgomery County, District 15, Thomas S. Wooten High School. Let's give them a round of applause. They have served us well.
Thank you, Pages. And they have some wonderful, they know their backgrounds back there. You can see some really good, clearly they know virtual school, I would imagine. All right, any further announcements? Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator from the Middle Eastern Shore.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, it is a special occasion permission to use the Senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
Well, we have another birthday coming up, and it's tomorrow. So will you please join with me in congratulating Senator Smith? It's his birthday tomorrow, February 6th.
He gets to celebrate with a wonderful work group. Congratulations, sir. All right, any further announcements? There are a couple administrative things very quickly. Next week, we have 3 sessions. 3 sessions are planned next week. That's Tuesday at 11, Wednesday at 10, Friday at noon. Second is that we are making a change on the submitted testimony to try and expand it. It was 10 to 3. It will be opened up earlier to 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that is a slight change for the submission of testimony ahead of hearings. A reminder, as always, to wear masks above noses. Remember, Senators, it's broadcast, so we've been getting messages from the public at times when Senators have been on camera without wearing their mask properly. Let's see. In full transparency, I want to just give folks a little note about what happened today. At the beginning of session, there was a slight streaming issue, and throughout all of this, we have from the very beginning wanted to have duplicative processes, and so the fail-safe kicked in. So what happened is that on the YouTube side, the YouTube, or I guess the server on YouTube had a glitch. It immediately switched over and went to the internal stream, and so there was no delay in the actual virtual streaming. And so these duplicative systems were built like this, hopefully. That this is what it was built for, but it flipped right on, and so it did work. So in the case that it hadn't, we saw that there were 160 people at one point, and it stayed throughout, so there was no delay in the timeline. We're going to upload the current MGA stream to YouTube after this so that it'll be in 2 places as well, but the MGA stream has been working throughout. So just want to make sure that that is aware in case it comes up or anybody brings that issue up over the weekend. Final note, it's been a long week. It's been a really long week. It's been a tough session. This is a very, very, very different year. Everyone's feeling anxious. Everyone's feeling very isolated and worried and emotional. Get some rest this weekend. We still have a lot of big work to do. So we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it together and enjoy the weekend. Spend some time with family. Hug your kids and spouses and enjoy it all. With that, let's do a quorum call before adjournment.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Tuesday, February 9th at 10 a.m.
Yes, Senators, one moment, one last thing I forgot. Finance Committee, yes, 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Finance Committee, please meet in the lobby for your iPad verifications. This is for the voting in the case that we have to do so. Stay safe, wear your mask, and make sure you get your vaccine. So ordered. Tuesdays at 11. Tuesdays at 11, not 10. Tuesdays at 11.